Rack and Ruin is an excellent action RPG game with heavy Zelda inspiration from indie studio. Huge influence from The Legend of Zelda, particularly A Link to the Past with its top-down camera angle, and graphically the presentation looks similar to Don't Starve, but a lot more action here, a lot more complicated enemies to attack. You will be able to come across merchants similar to in Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, and purchase items off of them. There is a great deal of thinking put into the boss fights and the enemy design overall, and at first the controls can be a little crazy to get used to. It's using the PlayStation 4 controller. The gameplay feels great to play. As you can see in this footage, the graphics look pretty good. There could be a small amount of more animations, but everything that's in there is solid. Playing the game all the way through will require a little bit of puzzle work and figuring out, which at first has frustrated me, but it's really not as hard as it seems. It just takes a little bit of maneuvering and getting around. So if you want to get every single thing in the game handled, you will have to spend some more time getting keys and getting through different dungeons and doors and stuff. It's not completely linear. There's a little bit of an open world aspect to it, which is nice. It would be good if there was voice acting, but there's going to be a little bit of reading for this game instead. Finding all the different spell books and abilities that the character can get is a very exciting part of the game. The game expands more than you may expect from a title like this, and in a day and age where so many indie games are marketed a certain way and then they don't really live up to the promise, Rack and Ruin is definitely one that lives up to its promise and tenfold, I would say. The game entirely is said to be at least 10 hours long, and probably more so if you jump into hard mode, and even more so if you try to get every piece of the game handled. Players are running around grabbing souls, and there's sort of a two-sided feel to the gameplay, in which some of it feels like a demonic, dark place that you're playing in, whereas other parts, everything is green, forest, and peachy. There's more than two different locales, though. Some of the abilities that players will be able to do includes eating the spine of your enemies to get a crazy adrenaline rush and be moving around very fast. There's bombs that can be crafted or purchased or found in the battlefield. Like I said, there's multiple different types of spells, one of which is sort of like dropping a fire bombs down. There's also a bunch of items that can be found that are sort of more mysterious. There's some ancient imbued technology, dust remnants that will spew a poisonous gas up into the air. There's dark comedic humor in the game. There are pieces of metal with different items inside of them that can be used as part of a puzzle and then also opened up to give the player more ammunition in the battle. You are playing as evil, working for Primeval. There's a lot of dark humor back and forth, and the different forces of evil, the hierarchy in the demons world is explored there a bit in the storyline, and it's very interesting to say the least to play a Zelda type of game from the point of the evil character. It's very interesting and creative. I wasn't gonna say bullet hell, but there is some moments where it feels like a bullet hell, and the developers described it a little bit bullet hell going on. It's funny because a lot of the things that I have to say about it are very much what the developer had in mind. Like, there's a lot of moments where the enemy is kind of doing bullet hell, where they're sending so many bullets at you, you have to barely keep track of them all. And that's a great thing. There's wizards to fight, there's knights to fight, there's large enemies to fight, there's bosses to fight, there's dragons to fight, there's sort of zombie-like creatures and possessed rabbits and bunnies and crap like that, depending on which section of the map you're in, if it's evil or good or not. You have to sacrifice souls in order to teleport from different places. There's a large world map with different areas to explore and side content in each area, plenty of side content, as well as the ability most of the time to just breeze right through and get some killing done and action done. Robot parts can be put together and spray waves in different directions is one of the items that you can get together as well. And it all comes down to collecting as many souls as you can from, you know, innocent characters, because you're an evil character, and they're fully aware of you. They're not helpless people, and though their soul is innocent, they are armed to the teeth with armies and armies of characters to come against you, and it provides a lot of drama and challenge. Soundtrack of the game is very well done, but I did feel that there could have been more variety in the songs playing, because I think what's happening is the game was designed for certain areas to be blown through very quickly, and instead the player finds themselves exploring and taking their time with this. And so a little bit more variety of how often different songs are played would be nice, but as you get further through the game, there's a lot of different tracks that are worthwhile here. And as for the sound effects, they're fine. They sound great. Once again, it would have been nice to have voice acting in there, but that's not like a major takeaway from the game. It's just that reading through the storyline just doesn't have the same impact for some players as hearing of voice actors read it out loud. Even if they weren't really the best voice actors, it would add a lot to the game, I personally believe. Anybody out there who cares about trophies, I personally don't. I have my notifications turned off for that. I just love to play games and enjoy them. But there are a bunch of trophies, and it's a platinum trophy for the game. It really is a good game. There's not much that needs improvement. A little bit more higher resolution and a little bit more animations. Somebody reading the dialogue, and it would probably be in the high 9s, to be honest. It's an amazing game. The controls are not like complete 360-degree movement. There is different directions that you can aim at. But besides that, and again, that's not necessarily a terrible thing. It can be sort of done on purpose as a strategic way of designing the battling. Not sure if that was done completely on purpose. But as it stands, it plays just fine with that going on. There's nothing wrong with that, and I don't feel a problem with this. But some players may feel that the game doesn't explain itself enough. There is a bunch of stuff that explains how to play the game in the beginning, and like where to get your items and how to complete puzzles. Again, the puzzles frustrated me a little, but most people don't mind puzzles in games. That's more of a personal things. I'm one of the players that doesn't really care for puzzles at all, really. Like, I mean, I kind of just passed my puzzle stage, where I'm just like, eh. I mean, but Rack and Ruin puzzles, once you get into the understanding of how they're laid out, you can appreciate where they were placed in the game, and most of it is side content stuff. You don't have to solve too many difficult puzzles to get through each level. At the end of pretty much each dungeon, there's a boss, and the boss battles are just excellent. And I hate to keep on saying it's like Zelda or Link to the Past, because I like to just let games stand on their own, but this game is so much like it in not ripping it off at all. The enemies feel completely unique, and the gameplay, the battling, feels completely unique. It doesn't feel like it's from that game at all. But by the way, the item system and everything is great. Very fast-paced. You can use it on the go, switching weapons. The main weapons that you'll use in the beginning of the game, as you see in the footage, are a fireball and a death sword. And you will get different items like healing potions, the spinal cord, which I talked about, Um, there's also a stink trail, a poison trail that comes out behind you, and some other items in the game as you get further along. You can also pay to have items reproduced that you've already discovered, and you can also pay for higher spells, and you can also get them as the story progresses, linear wise. I personally don't mind having to find where everything is on my own, and I think it adds to the game. It makes it a longer game, a more fun game, and as long as you're one of the players that's okay with figuring out where you were last and what you want to do next. It also saves right as you quitting, so you don't really have to worry about running back to a save point and then running back to fight again, or worrying about which checkpoint you were at last and stuff like that. But it does make me wonder about sort of if you got into the middle of a boss fight and you needed to go get a bunch of items and then come back. But it does seem like you could just sort of run out of the dungeon to some extent and just walk right out of the dungeon. I mean, you'd have to fight stuff all the way to the entrance, most likely if you left it alive on the way in, but stuff like that. Just something to think about overall when you're thinking about if you want to buy this game. But if you like action, hack and slash RPG type of experiences, if you like indie games and you are sick of buying ones that sort of promise that action RPG indie experience and then they give you something totally different, this is definitely a game you want to buy. There's not that many puzzles as I made it kind of sound. I just don't really think that they have a place in every genre. Like they show up in too many genres to my opinion. But these puzzles are not really like totally challenging. They're just sort of there to keep you out of the side content unless you really want to get into it. So that's nice. It gives you some incentive to really discover the world properly and all the way through. So this is the Rack and Ruin review for RealGamerNewz.com. We'll give it an 8 out of 10, leaving nice room for improvement for the developer, but also giving them what they deserve, which is really a great work, great earned title, great earned game. Happy to make this a silver game of RealGamerNewz for 2015, and see you guys on the flip side.